Oops, that was about black screen. Black screen, don't mind me. Wait, here we go. Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of Virtue's Last Reward. Last time we played the AB game, we got tilted from Alice a bit. Now I'm a little untilted because Sigma's putting the moves kind of in a really friendly and genuine manner, which was surprising, but also cool. And now we're gonna get some Alice lore, some Myrmidon lore too, because we only know what we know from Dio, who isn't exactly the best source of information. So yeah, should be fun. Let's check this out. Alice took a deep breath and began. Prepare yourself for long paragraphs. My father is Egyptian, but my mother is French. They met while my mother was in Egypt on vacation and married shortly thereafter. When I was 3, we all moved to the US. My father was a scientist and his field was cloning. He was recruited by an American lab, which was why we moved. Both of my parents had used English around me from the time I was born, so I didn't have any problems adapting to life in the United States. Okay, so is she actually not all ice? And it actually was a bait? Because it seemed like she was just lying the whole time, but if this is her truthful stuff, then I'm guessing maybe she's not the OG Alice that we thought we knew in 999. But the fact that her father worked in cloning, maybe she's a clone of Alice. Maybe. By my ninth birthday, we'd been there for 6 years. That was when it happened. I mean, it would make sense because there's a lot of weird clones running around this game. In the middle of the day, my mother showed up at school. Oh. Her eyes were red and puffy, but she didn't say anything to me on the drive home. When we arrived, there were several policemen there to meet us. My father had always been a very punctual man, and when time came and went with no sign of him, even I began to realize something terrible had happened. It wasn't until several years later that I finally learned the truth. My father's lab had been attacked by terrorists and he had been kidnapped. For the rest of my childhood, my mother raised me by herself. I didn't realize it then, but it must have been incredibly difficult for her as a single mother alone in a country where any relatives were a transatlantic flight away. She did her best not to let me see it, but every so often, when she thought she was alone, the mask would fall away and every line of her face I could see exhaustion and loneliness. As much as I miss my father, it was those memories that made me wish more than anything that he'd never been taken. Fortunately, I was an excellent student and did especially well in math. I earned a full ride scholarship straight out of high school and spent the next several years studying. After graduation, I took a job with the Department of Defense, hoping they might have the resources to help me look for my father. I was immediately assigned to the Special Office of Internal Security. Their purpose is to investigate and sometimes deal with terrorist organizations and other serious threats to the state. I could tell my mother wasn't happy about my decision, but she chose to remain silent about it. Eventually, I learned that the terrorist organization that had taken my father was none other than the Myrmidons, although at the time that name didn't mean anything to me. So I'm guessing Alice's father actually helped create the first batch of clones, maybe? They were suspected of human cloning. Specifically, it was thought that they had been using cloning techniques to copy their most useful members and expand their ranks. The Myrmidons apparently believed that they could use cloning to create a new race of humans. Now at last, I knew the reason for my father's abduction. The commander of the Myrmidons is a man named Left. We know his name and his gender, but not his appearance or his age. The Myrmidons are closely associated with a cult known as Free the Soul. We believe that Free the Soul provides their funding. But trying to pin any kind of misdeeds on the cult's leader, a man named Brother, is trying to nail Jello to a wall. Okay, so Brother is the Free the Soul leader, and Left was the Myrmidon leader. Wait, Brother's the one who died, and Left's in command, right? Or the other way around. I thought they were the same thing, but I guess they're technically different organizations that just work together. Brother's supposed to be fairly advanced in years, and rumor says he's so old he can't even get out of bed. Unfortunately, his mind seems to be as sharp as ever. At that point, I hit a wall. I knew the Myrmidons had been behind my father's kidnapping, but that was all I could learn about them. Hey, then one day, I got a tip that some of them were hiding in a building in the Nevada desert. I headed out immediately. There she is. Look at that. She's literally wearing the getup of Alice from the CGs in 999. I think it's like reasonable to assume she's the mummy. But I guess not. Maybe she is actually just normal. But she still could be a clone. On the way there, my car had some engine trouble and stalled out. I was trying to decide what to do when an SUV appeared out of nowhere. I'll give you one guess who was behind the steering wheel. Clover. That was the first time we met. There were 4 other people in the car with her, and when I asked them what they were doing, I got what was about the last answer I'd expected. They told me they'd been locked up inside of the very building I'd been on my way to investigate, and that they were currently in pursuit of the people who had kidnapped them in the first place. My priorities shifted very quickly. After a short discussion, I convinced them to allow me to come along. My hope was to find the people they were chasing, who I was certain were Myrmidons. In the end, however, we were unable to track them down. In fact, I still don't know where they might have gone. Sneaky. Eventually, I took Clover and her companions to SOIS headquarters. We decided that involving the police would only complicate things. After some questioning, it was determined that the people who had instigated this particular event were not connected to the Myrmidons. But there was all that like cult shit. I just left there. Like I guess maybe Ace was part of the Myrmidons. Like was that there before, or did Santa add that? Because that would mean he might be part of it. I don't know. We did, however, discover that the mysterious disappearance and subsequent reappearance of several children 9 years prior was connected to Free the Soul. Okay, so maybe they like bankrolled Ace, I guess. There was also a 6th person in the SUV, although they weren't riding in it per se. A middle-aged man, who I'll just call H for now, had been bound and placed in the trunk. According to the other 4, he had been behind the disappearance of the children 9 years earlier. We also learned that his pharmaceutical company, a major player on the world stage, was effectively controlled by Free the Soul. More specifically, I suppose, H was a member of Free the Soul and very committed to their cause. Interesting. I mean, I guess he did have like some idealistic goals, which I thought was just for his own motivations, but it does, I mean, I can definitely see him being part of a cult. So that answers the question of all the cult stuff. Santa didn't add them in. So why had he kidnapped all those children? Apparently it had been part of an experiment designed to test the ability of certain people to access what's called the morphogenic field. I don't imagine you ever heard of it before, so I'll try to give you a quick rundown. Simply put, hey, same CG. People can access a sort of field that allows their consciousness to resonate with the consciousnesses of certain other people. To be honest, it might be simpler to just call it telepathy. The SOIS had heard of this particular ability before and had actually used it in a number of investigations, so I wasn't surprised to learn of its existence. I was shocked, however, to learn that these experiments had been carried out by a member of Free the Soul. If that was the case, then Brother must have known about it. The thought of him discovering a way to control and harness that power was terrifying. It wasn't too long after the incident in Nevada that another tip about the Myrmidons crossed my desk. This time it claimed that the Myrmidons intended to launch a large-scale biological terrorist attack. My bosses decided that we needed more agents to deal with a threat of that magnitude, and Clover was recruited. Because she'd been a test subject in H's experiment, we knew she had the ability to access the morphogenetic field, and we wanted to put that ability to use. After several months of training, she was sent on her first mission. She would be tasked with the infiltration and investigation of a Myrmidon cloning lab. I was assigned to be her commanding officer. I hoped that our investigation might also give me a lead on my father's whereabouts. At last, I had a chance to find out what had happened to him. I wouldn't let that chance pass me by. Perhaps that was what kept me from noticing the truth. The whole operation was a trap. The lab was fake and Clover was captured almost immediately. I got there as fast as I could, but when I arrived, the building was only an empty shell. All of the conspirators who had pretended to be researchers and the like had already fled. I searched frantically for Clover until at last, in a basement room, I found her. She had been tied to a chair, but on the floor next to her was another body. Oh, it was my father. Okay. Didn't think of that. He looked as if he just been dumped there, and when I got to him, his body was already cold. He was covered in dark, ugly bruises. It wasn't until later that I learned he had died from ruptured organs and internal bleeding. They had beaten him to death. As soon as Clover had been captured, a Myrmidon in a mask had come to visit her. He said that unless she wanted to end up like my father, she would leave them alone and tell her masters at the SOIS to do likewise. In retrospect, they must have known who I was and who my father was. That was why they killed him. Perhaps they thought they were sending a message to me, or that once he was gone, I'd lose my reason for chasing them. They were very, very wrong. I took Clover with me and left. I tried to console myself with the fact that I had at least been able to save her. Sometime later, I received a call from the coroner. He told me there was something I needed to see. There in the morgue was my father, cold and pale on a steel table. I could barely stand to look at him, but the coroner insisted. On his arm were 2 rows of numbers, comprised of 8s and 9s. It took me a moment to recognize my father's handwriting. He had carved them into his own skin. On his chest was another message, but they were letters this time, not numbers. Not many, just enough to make a short sentence. I love you, Alice. Aww. I broke down crying right there in the morgue. They were the first tears I'd shed since the operation had started, and there's no stopping them. There would be no forgiveness. Not for the monsters who'd put my father through this. They destroyed my family. I would make them pay even if I had to die to do it. That night I made a promise to myself. I would avenge my father. It didn't take long to figure out that numbers he had written were latitude and longitude. They pointed to a chemical factory that had been disguised as an abandoned building. Further investigation revealed that it was the mother lode we'd been looking for, the headquarters of the Myrmidons. I think my father must have known how things would turn out. Knowing that he was going to die, he had written directions to our enemy's fortress on his own body. He'd sacrificed too much for me to waste this opportunity with recklessness. This time our operation would succeed. This time I wouldn't let my excitement put Clover or any of my other agents in danger. So we took our time, we gathered information, we did our research, and we planned. Finally, we were ready. December 25th, 2028 was going to be the day we finally set foot inside the Myrmidon stronghold. But then, on the 22nd, only 3 days before the operation was scheduled to begin, a man in a gas mask appeared. That was a good backstory. So I inhaled that gas, passed out, and woke up here in the AB room.
これがクレイドールズと私に関することのすべてよ。もちろん細かい部分については端折ってるけど、大体の概要は分かったでしょ?
Yep. Yeah. Thanks. She gave me a sad sort of smile and stood up.
さあ、戻りましょう。
Not yet. Your story explained a lot, but there's still one big question.
答え
Who here is a Myrmidon? One of us planted the bombs. And based off the code we found, it's pretty clear that the person is a Myrmidon,
え
right?
えそうね
And I agree that we need to figure out who they are.
突き止めるって言ってもどうやって
I don't know. I mean, we know it's Dio, but I don't know if there's a way to test. Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about. Do you have any clues?
思い当たるこ
But how to identify them?
と思い当たることねあの暗号表を解読できればもしかしたら何かわかるかもしれないけど
How can we do that?
だから言ったでしょそのためにはキーが必要なのよそれがわからないことにはどうにも
What's a key?
キーはキーよ解読するための鍵のことクレイドールズはその鍵として長い桁数の数字を使っていて
Wait, a long string of numbers? Could that be... Hey! We're about to unlock it? Easy. Oh yeah. We got that. We know it's Dio. Sorry, buddy. Oops. Don't go there. Well, that makes it easier. Oh, we just remember the code itself.
なんなのよその数
He
字は
was convicted of a string of numbers. I was almost surprised as she was. The numbers had just kind of appeared in my mind, and I was saying them before I knew what I was doing. Alice looked at me incredulously, and I stared back.
待って今の数字もう一回言ってもらえる
I'm not saying that.
それって198449351を3乗した数じゃない
Wow. What?
だから今シグマが言った25桁の数
Well, she did say she was good at math. I didn't know she was that good at math.
それを素因数分解すると198449351の3乗になるのよ
You're talking about reducing an integer to a series of prime numbers that you multiply together to get it, right? I don't know math. Don't ask me. Like if you have 30, then you get 2 times 3 times 5,
そう
right?
よ
Okay.
中学校で習ったでしょ
I don't remember if I did. So you're saying that number is a prime, and if you multiply it by itself 3 times, you get the big number.
え
Don't tell me you just did all of that in your head.
えいいえ暗算よ
Amazing.
頭の中で計算したの
Simple. Very simple. What? No, no way. That's impossible.
言ったでしょ数学は人よりも得意だって
Yeah, she did say that. That's not better at math.
そういうあなただってたった今膨大な桁数の数字をスラスラと暗唱したじゃない私に言わせればそっちの記憶力の方が
I
驚
mean,
異的だ
yeah, it is impressive too.
ところで今の25桁の数字どこで知ったの
I didn't know what to say. What would I tell her? That it just came to me?
そう言えないのねわかったわでもとにかく今の数字が例の暗号表を解読するためのキーになってることは間違いないと思うクレイドールズが素数をかけたものをキーとして使ってるってことは分かってるからデタラメな25桁の数字その3乗項が偶然素数になる確率なんて限りなくゼロに近いしってことは25桁の数字は何者かの手によって作為的に生成された可能性が高いってことになるわ
Could you explain that with small words? Yeah,
だから要するに
for me too.
25桁の数字を素因数分解したもの198449351の3乗が暗号を解くためのヒントになってるってこと
Okay.
まだわからない
I mean, I basically got it,
さ
yeah.
っき医務室で見た暗号表思い出してみてモニターには何て出力されてた
I think the first row was... and we used the code we got to use these numbers and decipher it.
2行目は
I think. Then they just repeat.
それにしてもやっぱりすごい記憶力ね、あなた。私たちの組織に欲しいぐらいだわ。
Yes, recruit me. Well, keep going. How do we decode that?
今の文字列にさっきの素数198449351を当てはめてみるのよ。
How do we do that?
左上から順番に1文字目のアルファベット、9文字目のアルファベット、8文字目のアルファベット。
Okay, so it just continues. You don't restart, which makes sense because there's repeating
とい
lines.
った感じで文字を拾い読みしていけばいい。そうすれば多分解けると思うわ。
I ran over what she said in my head. The prime number Alice had given me was that. So what would we get if we picked out the letters she'd explained? The first letter would be C from the top left, then you move 9 to the right, which would give you O, then 8 more to the right. Eventually we'd get a word, and that word was... No! The code sheet won't be displayed when you input your answer, so it would be wise to solve it now. The key is... Okay, wait, let me write that down. I'm gonna forget. Oh no. Alright, 9, 8, 4, 4, 9, 3, 5, 1. Remember the key. Closing the window will take you to the input screen. No! Wait. I need to actually look at the code. Do we have it? Or... How am I supposed to solve it if we can't? Wait. Maybe it's here somewhere. I can't do it. God damn it. Okay, that's just bullshit. Okay. I'm just gonna restart the game then. I can't even, like, go back. I thought they would at least let me see the freaking... the decryption screen. Well, we'll just have to skip through a bit. But that's fine. Boo, now it's cutting down on my playtime. Skip me. Oh my god, I can't even skip. Maybe I should have just chose 6 front answers? I don't know. Here, listen to me spam click for a couple minutes. Alright, just give me the code game. Should have maybe saved before it, I don't know. They did give me a warning, but I thought they would at least show the screen. How am I supposed to decode it now when you have like shit on the screen blocking the code? Okay. Go, 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 go.
Eh, これがもちろんさ、答え、突き止め重いあの案だからそのそれがキー解読クレイドル 待って、今のそれだからそれをそうよ、中学校。ええ、いいえ、頭の言った数学、そういう私にどこそう分かっでもとクレイド出たってことはだから19まださモニター
Alright, here we go. Easy. So we start with C. And then they said it was alright because we count by 9, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh. Then it's 8 from this O. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Then it's 4 from the M. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it is another 4 from the P. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it is 9 from the L. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's gonna be complete. Then it's what? Then it's 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be complete. We'll do it anyways, just in case. Then it is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Completed. Okay. There you go. Uncheesed, uncheesed.
それ私た今の左一元言ったかそうす
Ah. Whoops. Yep, we're good. Close this. Beautiful. I did it. Completed. That's it. That's the answer.
それって確かなの
Yeah. I did exactly what you told me to do, and the word I got is completed. Well, actually, it's completed, completed, completed. The code and the letters repeat every 2 lines. It just repeats.
私は暗号表の文字列を正確に記憶しているわけじゃないから何とも言えないんだけどあなたがそこまで強く言うなら
Thank you.
多分そうなのね
Regaining trust. Dude, my animosity towards Alice is completely gone. 1, because she's hot, but 2, because now we're in a better relationship and I really believe she wouldn't betray us anymore, so good things are happening. I'm definitely certain.
分かったわでもコンプリーティッドって何かしら
It's the password for disabling the bombs. What? Aside from the obvious, you mean? I'm guessing here it means mission complete. So that's what the transmitter was for.
やつやつって誰よ通信機って何
I barely even heard her. Suddenly my mind was full of memories that hadn't been there a moment before. It was like a wave had washed away the sand, revealing a bed of precious gems underneath. Whoa, whoa. Stuff. Stuff. Lots of stuff. Is this a double lock? Or just remembering the Dio stuff? Dun dun dun. Damn it. Why hadn't I realized it before? I could remember a series of numbers, but not this. At least I remembered it now. Dio was a member of the Myrmidons. And not just any member, he was their leader. Leader? Huh? I don't remember that. That means he had to be the one who planted the bombs. Leader? Where did he get that? I mean, he was a leader in this mission. Not the leader of the Myrmidons? Question mark? I'm confused.
ねえちょっとき
Yeah.
質問に答えなさいよ。やつって一体誰なの？通信機っていうのは何？
I didn't trust myself to try and explain it to her. More than likely, she'd think I was just insane. Even I could barely make sense of the sudden influx of new information.
まさかあなたがクレイドールズの一員だなんて言わないわよね。
If I was, do you really think I'd reveal myself like
ま
this?
あ確かにそれもそうね。
Out of nowhere, Clover appeared. New bomb just dropped?
こんなところにいたんだ。探したんだからね。
Really?
今みんな B 階の倉庫に集まってて、みんなっていうか
Uh-oh, Luna might be dead.
どうして？
You stood out 45 minutes until the white doors open.
知ってる。
Oh, okay. Hey, wait a minute. I thought you, Kay, and Port didn't know about the white
ニュー
doors.
スで天明寺さんから聞いたの。それでどこにあるか教えてくれるって言うから天明寺さんに連れられて B 階の倉庫へ。
クオークのことはルナに任せることにしたのね。
そう。そしたらそこにファイとケイとディオもいて。
Oh, okay. So,
いきなりファイと天明寺さんとディオの3人が喧嘩を始めちゃったんだよ。
what?
なんでまた？原因は何？
Because they're gone? The two are gone. According to Clover, the last AB game had been the cause of their fight. Or, yeah, I mean, that made sense too. Even though Tenmyoji only had one BP, Fi had chosen Betray. They started to fight, and since Dio had pressed Betray on behalf of his team, eventually he got dragged into.
でもそれってなんかおかしくない？ファイだって BP は1だったんだから正当防衛だと思うけど。
ああもういいからとにかく来てよ。
Okay, we'll break it up.
今はケイが必死になって仲裁に入ってるけど、一人で
Hey,
3人を
Kay's
抑え
not.
るのは
Kay's like has the strength of 3 men, alright, with the armor. Okay, okay. Come on, Alice, let's go.
了解よ。
Go. Run back time. We walk in and they're just all dead. That would be hilarious. All 4 of them were still there when we arrived. They seemed to have calmed down a bit, but the tension in the air was almost visible. I felt like I'd stepped into a room full of flammable gas. Even the smallest spark could turn the whole place into a raging inferno. Even Kay, usually so calm and collected, was standing ramrod straight, with his hand balled into a fist at his side. Why is Kay mad? I looked at Alice, pursed my lips, then headed over to the angry knot of people occupying most of the room. Gotta bring them together, Sigma. Clover told me what's going on. This whole thing is stupid. You need to knock it off. Hey. Alice almost killed me, but I've forgiven her. So you guys should too, basically. I know, but yelling at each other isn't going to solve your problem. The best thing for us to do right now is to trust each other and get through this. Wouldn't you agree? Fair. I mean, also fair though.
何度も言うようだが、天明寺、お前はディオに投票権を委ねた。その時点で、私の殺害を容認しているに等しい。
That's true. There you go, you both have good arguments now. Be friends.
そんなものは言い訳にはならん。大体お前は、私が裏切りを選んだことについて糾弾してくるが、だったら何か私が協力を選ぶべきだったとでも言うのか。もしもそんなことをしていたら、私はすでにこの世にはいないことになるんだぞ。それはお互い様じゃろ。
Lol. We're stunned lots. Yeah, Dio choosing ally. Hilarious. Though then, this is the route where he accidentally chose well, Fork made him choose allies, so he has a little bit of leeway, but still.
二人ともそろそろやめませんか。シグマさんが言った通り、今は仲違いしている時ではないでしょう。お前が言うかねそのセリフを。四つ葉を裏切って
Hey,
脱出しようとしたくせに。殺人未遂よりははるかにマシだと思います。
that is true. At least you didn't try to kill someone.
だからあれは天名字を救うためにだ。
Shut up, Dio. I hate that Dio actually has a good defense this route from picking ally in the first round. And now the fact that it seems like he was trying to save 10 Myoji. Ugh. Ah, god damn it. Enough already. I roared with fury, and my voice echoed and rebounded off the walls of the warehouse. Everyone fell silent. I didn't know how long that silence would last, so I decided to put it all on the table. There's only one way I was going to be able to take control of the situation. Guys, listen to me. We really don't have time for this. I was met with a number of glares, but I soldiered on. See, the thing is, I figured out who planted the bombs. Lol, Dio.
誰なの
Unless
その犯人って
Luna helped.
もしかして
But I
さ
think
っき言ってた
just Dio. Sort of, yeah. I know which one of you it is.
やつとは一体何じゃ。
どういうことなのかきちんと説明してください。
I don't think I need to. They're going to admit their guilt in just a few minutes.
自供
You're all going to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. Or I guess I should say Dio's mouth. LOL. Panic laughing.
何を言い出すかと思えばやぶから棒に。
Oops.
この俺が犯人だとでも言うのか。
Yes, I do.
おいおい。人を疑うからにはそれなりの根拠があるんだろうな。
I'm not accusing you. I'm just stating a fact.
バカ。その根拠は何だって聞いてんだろうが。
Fun as it was, I knew taunting alone wouldn't be enough to make Dio confess. He just played dumb. He was good at it, and I'd get nothing. That meant I was going to have to trick him. Well, you see, I'm actually from Free the Soul.
フリーザそうなんだそれ。聞いたこともね。
Hippie Shoe Company. Don't play dumb, Dio. Or should I call you Left? Brother ordered me to come here. Was it? I mean, I guess he is a clone of Left. But I thought there was like batches of clones of Left. So like, I don't think he's, I mean, I guess he technically is Left, but he's not like the leader. He just has the genes of the leader. To keep an eye on you. It was quick, but for a moment I saw his eyes twitch. I leapt on that moment of weakness like a hungry dog on a steak. Fine, skepticism is understandable, admirable even. But perhaps this will convince you. And just say the code. But like, I mean, in Dio's mind, he's like, why would this be happening right now? I pressed forward, pulling out every fact I could remember. I told Dio about Brother's background and how his younger brother Left had been murdered. I mentioned casually that the Myrmidons were all clones of a single person. So, still not convinced? How about this? Big number. Did you do a little prime factor decomposition on that and you'll get another big number, but smaller than the bigger number, to the third power. If I'm not who I say I am, how on earth could I possibly know that?
そんなバカな。
Finally. So, let's start over, shall we? I was sent here to watch your every move. It seems our wise and noble brother doesn't trust you, he suspects betrayal. I assure you I'm not. But if you don't believe me, why don't you go outside and call him with your transmitter?
違う。違う。そんなことはありえない。ブラザーは俺のことを信頼してくださっている。
No.
だからこそ俺はこの任務の遂行役として抜擢されたんだ。そもそも俺がクレイドールズのリーダーに選ばれたのだって。
When did we learn that he was the leader of the Myrmidons? I don't remember that at all in the backstory. I probably just am misremembering, sadly. Huh? Sorry, what was that?
だから俺がクレイドールズのリーダーに選ばれたのも
Heh. I grinned.
まさかお前騙したのか
Sorry, Dio. I've never even seen brother.
だったら今の話は何だったんだどうしてお前がそんなことを知ってる
Don't know. Maybe I was divinely inspired.
なあ一体どういうことなんだ。
クレイドールズというのは何なんです
Dio and I stared at another while Clover and Tenmyoji quickly explained Phi and Kei about the memory card and the number 2 bomb, and about the code they found that was from the terrorist organization called the Myrmidons.
つまり爆弾を仕掛けたのはクレイドールズという組織のメンバーということですね
で、今まさにそのことをディオが認めたと。
Yeah.
許せない許せないわ
I heard a low, fierce muttering behind me and turned to see Alice, her lips pulled back into a snarl.
殺してやる殺してやる殺してやる
Her voice rose to a scream as she charged towards Dio. He ducked out of the way smoothly and pulled something from his pocket.
おっとっと
Whoop, he has the detonator.
威勢のいい女は嫌いじゃねえがそのぐらいにしておいた方が身のためだぜバ
なんですって
俺が今持ってる装置なんだかわからねえ
まさか起爆装置
Oh. Hey, that means Luna is not involved at all. Nice.
ごめん
How we doing?
じゃ
Two
あこのスイッ
swears.
チを押したらどうなるかもわかるな
この施設には少なくとも2つの半物質爆弾が仕掛けられているそれらが爆発するのね
まあ2つじゃないけどな01の爆弾もどこかに設置されているのです
And there's a number 0 bomb.
そうそれに加えてもう一つ
4つもあるっていうの
その通り仕掛けた爆弾は全部で4つだ
Working fast.
03、02、01の他にももう一つあるナンバー00の爆弾がな合計すると TNT 換算で4トン分の爆弾ってことになる
4 tons.
それが炸裂すりゃお前らは一巻の終わりだこの建物もろとも吹っ飛ばされて跡形もなく消え失せることになるだろう
それはお前とて同じじゃろうが。
ディオ、お
He
前が死ぬ
doesn't
ことになる
care.
ぞ。
He just wants to be a martyr.
元より覚悟の上だ俺にはスペアもいるから問題はない
Ooh,
スペアというのは
spare clones.
先ほどシグマさんが言っていた
Because I guess technically he, even though he has his own personality, I'm sure there's a bit of left in his personality too. And he considers all the clones himself.
そうクローンのことだ
I heard Alice whisper something to Clover.
四つ葉行くわよ訓練の成果を見せてやりなさい
Oh, combat training. Go.
分かった
Before I had a chance to ask them what was going on, they moved.
ふざけんじゃないわよ誰
Doria? She roared and leapt toward Dio, Clover following just behind. Alice threw a punch at Dio's face and he dodged. And as he dodged, Clover spun out from behind her. The misdirection attack. Dio grunted and turned to focus on Alice, but Clover darted in and snatched the detonator from his hand. Well, that was easy.
確保
了解シグマ持ってて
Huh? Before I could respond, Clover had thrown the detonator at me. I scrambled to grab it out of the air and held it to my chest.
くそやめろ離せ離せって言ってんだろうがこのクソ穴
Well, that was actually pretty easy, surprisingly. Yelling didn't do him any good, and Dio found himself subdued by the skillful teamwork of Alice and Clover. Look at that smirk, though. Strangely, though, once they had a hold of him, he stopped struggling. I was reminded of a gazelle with its neck in the mouth of a lion. Nice. Sadly, though, I think I'm done. I have to stop. I am out of time for today. Nice short lore episode while we get more lore. Lots of lore episodes, to be honest, but I am fine with lore episodes. But yeah, good stuff. A little bit of Alice backstory and Dio actually being captured. And we're making progress, so it is good. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and next time we'll see what's up with Dio. I'm sure there's like an automated timer, so it doesn't really matter if you know if you capture him or not, and that's gonna be the thing. And we need to find the passwords to disable the bombs. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. See you next time. Bye.